Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Until I met my new best friend, all of my boys say I'm tripping. When they call, I'm not answering. They always get my voicemail 'cause I'm
Alex, are we rolling? We are rolling. Welcome to another episode of Sorry I've Been So Busy, the podcast where we talk to very busy people about what they're busy with. Sometimes we talk about fake busy. Talk to fake busy people.
A lot of fake busy people in New York.
A lot of them pretending to be busy. How do they get away with it? That's Andrew Goldstein, by the way.
At AngGold on Twitter, ANGEGOLD.
I'm Matt Goldich. Matt Goldich, GOLDICH on Twitter. We have a guest today who it's Alex's, our producer's dream guest. It's Andrew's
Man
dream
Crush.
guest.
Man Crush Friday.
Classic Man Crush Friday.
Yeah.
But it's somebody we've been wanting to have on for a long time, so we're
He's
very
the best,
excited
yeah.
to
Very
have
excited.
him. And thank you to all the listeners. Huge feedback for the Annie Letterman episode. And
People love drugs and sex and bears.
yes, and Quaker meetings and Funyuns. But so thank you to all the listeners and to everybody who's been leaving comments and messages. We have a by the way
5-star ratings.
Yes, 5-star ratings on the iTunes page. Those definitely help. And we do have
Who's our busybody of the week,
busybody
Matt?
of the week this week. Lucky Bear 12 left a 5-star iTunes review. We actually don't know who this is. Lucky Bear 12. The title is Two Smart Jewish Comedy Writers. What Could Be Bad? I can think of a lot of things,
lot of things.
but thank you. Love listening to this podcast while I cook or drive in the car. The episode with Ben Relis was enlightening and groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
Wow, that's a...
I don't know what ground we broke.
I don't know, but it was an interesting...
But we did talk about YouTube. Not a lot, you know.
Yeah, he works at YouTube, and we talked
Speaking
about...
of YouTube, the Showbiz Studios
yes.
has a new YouTube channel.
Good segue.
So you can watch. You can listen to the podcast at your desk at work.
Yeah.
You just play. You go on YouTube and you search Showbiz Studios, and it comes right up, and you can literally just click on any of the podcasts,
Yeah.
and it plays as if you're watching a YouTube video.
Or if you're just watching a video of Jews eating soup, two old Jews eating soup, it will then recommend our show.
Yeah.
as your
If that's your
Yeah.
go-to YouTube search, we're in the sidebar.
Yes, exactly.
How
yeah.
do you get my password?
Two Jews eating soup. That's you and Bernie. You share.
But thank you, Lucky Bear. What was it, 12?
Lucky Bear 12.
Lucky
yeah.
Bear 12. I think she won the Preakness.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. I actually thought Lucky Bear 12 was a DJ I saw at Coachella.
Oh, I love Lucky
Yeah.
Bear 12. Yeah. Great. I think he's dating Taylor Swift now.
Alex, did we properly plug the YouTube channel? Did we get all the information?
Oh, we got the thumbs up from
Okay,
Alex.
good, yeah. Alex, you have a mic now in the booth. Why are you not using it?
Baba Booey.
It's too much of a schlep to get here.
Oh, yeah, you got to move your chair
and
and in.
all the way to the mic.
Matt, what have you been busy with? What's going on?
Well, I've been dealing with what was formerly known as Time Warner Cable, what is now known as Spectrum.
Yeah.
Which, as we all know, is they've put this campaign together where they're like, we're not Time Warner anymore, we're Spectrum, and it's like we're a better company, and it's like you're the same company, but you changed your name. They did fool me. Well, first of all, let's just say I know that cord cutting is all the rage, and people not having cable anymore. It's so expensive, and I hate having it, but I can't get rid of it because of the sports and the live events that you would miss if you.
I agree.
I'm just not one of those people who's ever gonna like.
We were born in an era where cord cutting feels like it's wrong.
There are people our age who are doing it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just not gonna like. Cut, log on to ESPN.com and then somehow broadcast it on my TV, and that's just for whatever reason. If I'm by myself watching TV, my go-to is to just throw on whatever sporting event is on, and I appreciate that. And there are certain shows that I like to watch still when they come on. Not very many, but
also the news.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of reasons to still have cable. Maybe not quite enough to make it like $200 a month, but plus you're already paying them for your internet, whatever. So around 6 months ago, we had a cable box that started going like wonky on us. And I will say Spectrum fooled me because I called them and they were very helpful with the customer service. And they gave me a suggestion that sort of fixed it.
Mark Zumoff came to your house?
Exactly. Yeah, the Spectrum. Yeah, from the Spectrum. And then it started going wonky again, and I was like, "Can
Larry
you?"
Rosen?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that one.
Prism. Okay.
Can we? So they set up an appointment. They were very nice on the phone. They were very helpful, and I was like, "This is already an improvement over Time Warner."
Yeah.
Because Time Warner felt like
Polite.
you were like bothering them at home, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
You know. So they set up an appointment for a guy to come. The guy came while I was not home. Someone else was home with our kid, and then so the person, replaced the cable box. I come home, and this has happened to me once before. They basically replaced the cable box with an older cable box.
Oh, I hate that.
It's like a refurbished, so it's like this. It looks like an early VCR from like 1981 is what they put in there instead of. And what we had was it was not working, but it was like it looked like a cable box from this decade.
This decade.
And then they replaced it with this thing. It's just like, what? Why is there a Laserdisc player in my house? So
you have to go to Sam Goody to get it.
They called me, at work, and they were like, "We fixed everything. Don't worry about it." So I get home, and immediately this thing just does not work.
Of course,
and it's like, what is? And so I called them again, and they were like, "Yeah, you got to go in. If you go into Spectrum, you can get a new cable box. Wow. If they come, the guy just gives you whatever he has in his truck." And it's like, why wouldn't you just have a new cable box in your truck?
Yeah. The old cable box just gets Family Ties episodes.
Yes. It's so annoying that you pay so much money for this service that's terrible, and we're all just stuck to it. We all know it sucks.
And those commercials, they make it seem like they are revolutionary. The guy's got khaki pants on. Yeah. It seems like amazing.
But
you can chime in.
And yet I'm never going to get rid of cable. There's just no way.
I'll never be a cord cutter.
No, you can't.
I find it weird. My friends all tell me that their kids don't even have the reflex to turn the TV on. They go right to the screens.
I know, but it's like, what are you going to do? Go to a bar when you want to watch a
I know. Exactly.
Sixers game?
Or if there's like breaking news, I don't want to like search which website is streaming the fastest.
I know,
I just want to turn my TV on.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to bring something up.
Yes.
We had Michael Torpey on recently from Orange is the New Black. Very fun podcast. And we had
Speaking of cord cutting, Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have been a good transition if I found it. We had him on the day that Orange is the new season dropped, so I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So we interview him on a Friday, and that Saturday, Jamie and I started Orange is the New Black, and not 5 minutes into the first episode, I'm not spoiling anything unless you really care about what I'm about to tell you, you see Michael Torpey's dick.
Wow.
And I'm like, I was so upset because I was like, that would have been the whole podcast.
Yes.
The whole podcast, I would have been like, is that a prosthetic? Was that your real dick?
Yeah.
Did you have to get it did you have to maneuver it?
Yeah.
Was there a handler?
Was there makeup?
Was there makeup?
Yeah.
Was there a pubic hair stylist?
A lighting issue, yeah.
I watched the Diane Keaton AFI special last night, and they did a whole section on her full frontal nudity scene that she did at 57 or something in Something's Gotta Give. They talked a lot about it.
Wow. Well, those are the questions I would have asked Torpey. The whole podcast, I think, would have been derailed about showing his penis. Was he nervous?
Did that affect the size of it?
Was it cold in the room?
Is
he getting fan mail?
Yeah, I know, right?
Did somebody like screen cap it and make it their profile picture?
I have to ask because we talked about him being in that Michael Jordan Haynes commercial. Did the penis have a Hitler mustache?
There was no Hitler mustache. But
I'll give Alex the credit for that.
But shout out to Torpey, magnificent penis.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we didn't get derailed because we did talk about a lot of interesting things with him, and I felt like we could have talked about his penis for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Larry David, hell of a penis on that kid.
Yes. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to introduce our guest for today. For you, the listeners of Sorry I've Been So Busy, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. You can download any book you want. You could download Jensen Karp's book, Kanye West Owes Me $300, his great memoir about being a white teen rapper. We had him, Jensen, on the podcast to talk about his book, and it was awesome, and he's a super interesting guy, so check that out. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Again, that's audibletrial.com/SIBSB for your free audiobook. We are back. Andrew, would you do us the favor, the honor of introducing our guest?
I would be honored. He's a very good friend of mine, a very talented guy. We met through wrestling, through our shared love of wrestling. And
Great.
And we
Can't wait to hear it.
And we both worked for WWE in the past.
Yeah.
But now he's one of my best friends in the city. He's a very funny guy. Also very active in the UCB community. Very funny guy. Zach Linder.
I feel like I have a lot to live up to. I don't know. I don't know if I can live up to this hype that Alex has.
Well, is there anywhere where we can see your penis?
No comment. That Flickr account has been deactivated.
All right.
Are you a cord cutter?
I won't cut the cord. I like you guys.
I was talking about your penis.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, a few days into the Jewish religion,
Sure,
everybody does, right?
Whoever liked those two Jewish writers is going to love this one. Yeah.
And then the Hasids come in and they come in, they do the little dick suck. You know
Did
about
we
that?
already? Did we talk
We
about
talked
this?
about the sucking.
With Annie?
Yeah. She made
so
it.
funny. Why does that keep coming up?
It's covered ground.
Oral brisses.
Welcome. You don't.
Yes.
Just be yourself.
Okay.
Have you done a lot of podcasts?
Yeah, I've done a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly talking about wrestling, so I hope we don't talk a lot about wrestling.
won't.
That'd be a
We
nice
won't.
change of pace for
Matt
me.
and I. It's like wrestling and Full House. We don't like. I like both of those. Matt doesn't have a base of knowledge.
I don't really have a thing that you don't like, do I? I don't really have a...
gluten-free cake.
I guess so, yeah. That's probably where we would go.
Wait, I want to talk about your man crush with Alex. I kind of set you guys up to be friends. We did a pilot podcast, me and you, and our friend Dave Easton, here in the Showbiz Studios.
It's a great podcast.
And you met Alex, and you guys hit it off and have become friends independent of me.
That's true. I even walked into one of my favorite spots in the city a couple months ago, B&H Dairy.
Which I just recently went to for the first time.
Right. You took a picture of an egg sandwich. And there's going to be a lot of that, I feel like, on this episode. A lot of.
I did do that.
He takes a lot of pictures of egg sandwiches.
But I work in Williamsburg, and it's really easy for me to hop on the L train and come into the city after work. And sometimes I'll just hop on the L and go to B&H for dinner.
Yeah.
And which, if you don't know, it is a great, really old-fashioned, what used to be called a dairy restaurant.
Yeah.
A Jewish dairy restaurant. And
Blintzes, eggs.
Kasha Varnishkas.
I actually don't know about this place. Where is it?
It's on
Right next
2nd
to
Avenue.
Like Paul's the burger joint. It's like right next to it. But you'd pass it a million times and never noticed it.
I've passed by there so many times.
Yeah, you've
I've
never
even
noticed
heard
it.
The big famous...
It's a lunch counter.
It's a lunch counter. The big famous dairy restaurant, Ratner's, no longer exists. But when I was growing up, Ratner's and Katz's were sort of in parallel with one another.
Right, so they don't serve meat.
They don't. No, it's vegetarian. But I'll pop in there after work. And I walked in there once a couple months ago, and there was Alex just sitting at the counter eating, I don't know, probably a blintz or a French toast or something.
I did the same thing last night. I swear to you.
But they're known for their like really delicious thick cut bread.
Yeah.
So you get a challah French toast.
Oh, man. I feel like all of the moms of our listeners are going to love this podcast.
I know, right? Yeah.
All of the Jewish moms.
I'm single, ladies.
You're great with the moms. So then you and Alex have an independent friendship now.
Yeah, we've hung out a few times.
Yeah, buds.
We've a similar love for the old classic Jewish borscht belt comedy.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
There you go.
Alex showed me an Alan King book he wanted to show you. Really? I'm not joking.
When we came here to record that podcast with Dave a number of months ago, within 2.5 minutes of meeting Alex, he was like, "Take this book." The Comedians was the book, which I have read like a couple pages of, but it's still like just sitting on my coffee table.
So there you go. It's I love to do that. It's one of my favorite things in the world is to connect people from different parts of my life. I could tell you many, many stories of friends from one side of my life that are now friends with people on the other,
And you and I were really Twitter friends before we met in person.
Yeah.
Just through
we
the
were
wrestling
Twitter
stuff.
buds, and then we became friends in this weird wrestling community.
Yeah.
Like a chat room.
We do have a group text.
We do have a group text.
Solid group text.
Really?
Yeah.
It's called the Jew World Order.
Nice. That's a wrestling. I get that. That's
There
a
you
wrestling
go.
reference. I can't believe I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never. I mean, we could talk about it briefly, but for whatever reason, I never got into it as a kid. I mean, well, first of all, did you grow up here in the city?
Yeah, I grew up in Great Neck.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So right on the Long Island side of the Queens border.
Yep, been many times. Yeah, it's a great neck.
Sure.
Yeah, been to some satyrs, some Persian
Much
satyrs.
better than just okay neck.
Yes. Well, there's Little Neck.
Little Neck is on the Queens side of the
on the
border,
Queens side, yeah.
and Great Neck is famously so Great Neck is a peninsula, and the very northern tip of the peninsula is West Egg
That guy's got a great neck.
Right.
from
Yes.
The Great Gatsby.
You don't hear that a lot.
Wait, what? I actually never knew that West Egg was part of Great
Yeah, so
Neck.
the northernmost neighborhood or district on the Great Neck Peninsula is Kings Point.
Yeah.
And Kings Point is F. Scott Fitzgerald basing on West Egg. And there's a peninsula just to the east of Great Neck called Port Washington.
Yeah.
And the northern point of Port Washington is Sands Point, and that's what he refers to in the book as East Egg.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. For some reason, I always assumed it was like the Hamptons or something, or Montauk.
It's way closer because there is a scene in the book where they drive into Manhattan and there's like a car crash or something. It's been years since I read it.
Paul McCartney died.
What?
Never mind.
What? I don't even get
the-
that joke.
Draw that connection for
The
me.
conspiracy theory that Paul McCartney died in a car accident. Sorry, never mind. Keep going. This is why I love Zach, because he's so learned. He knows all this shit.
about the Great Gatsby and wrestling.
I made a joke when I went a few years ago. I went to go see an off-Broadway play, and then I was going right from the off-Broadway play to an indie wrestling show. And there's a photo of me with our mutual friend Ryan, really sweaty and drunk at the pro wrestling show, holding up a Mick Foley action figure in one hand and the playbill in the other hand.
That pretty much defines you in an evening.
I would say so. I saw a play last night.
Yeah.
I saw the Whirly gig.
He's very worldly, and we'll get into it when we get into your day. But you are a solo traveler.
Yeah, that's right. As of about 5 years ago, I started doing it a lot.
And I don't mean just like take a day for yourself and go to Philadelphia. You go to Europe for a week by yourself.
Yeah, or more. Yeah, I just got back from Italy. I was in Italy for almost 2 weeks.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't even
Master
go to a
of
movie
none
by
style.
myself.
Yeah, but I'm a master of fun.
Oh, wow.
I can't even go to the movies by myself.
Aziz has got nothing on my cacio e pepe.
Honestly.
So wait, how did you? I mean, you got to be the most. He has to be the most dapper of the wrestling group text, right?
I have to go to work after
He has to
this.
go to work.
Okay. I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
He's wearing a nice crisp white button down,
Yes.
Yeah.
nice dark jeans, loafers.
I'm Spectrum now.
Yeah.
There you go. You've changed. You're no longer at the Time Warner. How did you get into wrestling? It's shocking to me that people would. I guess.
So we are going to talk about it.
Well, no, I'm just curious because it's just.
We'll talk around it.
It never crossed my path growing up.
I'll give you my trajectory real quick. I was a fan when I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And as most like little boys are, I think. And then I was a fan again in my teens when wrestling was huge.
Yeah.
With the Austin 316 shirts, and everyone had them. So I was into it for like a couple years in high school around that time, middle school and high school. And I dropped out, and not out of school. I dropped out of being a wrestling fan.
Wow, that's more interesting. Let's shift to that.
No, I was focusing on other things during my high school and college years, and then late in college, I learned that a guy on my improv group in college was a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And once a wrestling fan learns of another wrestling fan, people feel like it's safe and they come out of the woodwork,
Yeah.
right? So him and I went to go see a SmackDown taping in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I had not seen wrestling in years.
You were reborn.
Yeah, he's showing me like, oh, this guy, he's great. I'm like, who's that? He's like, he's Batista. And I'm like, I love Batista now.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, that was right around the time that WWE was moving back from Spike to USA.
Yeah.
It was like a big, and they called it the Raw Homecoming. And that kind of got me back into it full time. And right around that time, I started running a wrestling comedy show at the UCB.
Yeah.
And that in turn kind of indirectly led to me working at WWE.
Wow.
So that's sort of the trajectory. It's
Pretty cool.
Let me ask you a question because, well, first of all, I emailed you that thing this week. I don't know if you saw about how I saw
about the
that, like,
median age.
the average the average age of like the wrestling TV viewer in the last like 15 years has gone
it's
up
really
from
old.
like 26 to like 50. So now it's like
It was the biggest leap of
Any sport,
of sports because
Yeah.
a lot of sports, most of them all increased, but none with a bigger gap
so
than WWE.
so I know like when you watch it now, obviously you're watching it. It's amazing to me that there's even a second level. To me, like having worked there, it would seem like you're only watching it with like a critical eye. But are you also still invested in it?
Yeah, they pull me back in.
Yeah.
Because I do go through long periods of time where I'm just watching it to know what's happening because I'm going on podcasts and I have this this group of friends and whatnot. But then every once in a while they do something and I'm like right back to being 10 years old.
But
again.
what about you? Is there any sort of like ironic appreciation for like how dumb the whole thing is, or is it?
Absolutely.
Or are you all? Are you just fully?
That's almost all it is at this point. I mean, it has been a long time for me since I've been genuinely invested in being on the edge of my seat for it. Right. I would say there are moments that I can sit back and think that was cool.
Yeah.
I liked that, but I think really not since they brought up Kevin Owens and did that match with John Cena when he went over Cena. I think not since then. This is getting really inside baseball. But not since that particular match, which was a couple years ago now, have I really been on the edge of my seat.
So what about all these like 50-year-old men who are watching? Are they like genuinely into it, or are they all watching it like you guys are, where they're like
I mean,
sort of like
the normal cycle is you're a fan when you're a kid. And then you kind of lose it when you start noticing girls.
Yeah.
And then when you get older and you can kind of choose your entertainment, you come back. You come back to it.
Once you've got your girl, you got that locked down. Then you can
because wrestling.
Then you lose the girl.
Here's the thing that people don't understand: wrestling has been on TV since day one.
Yeah.
And it's never left.
David Shoemaker, our mutual friend, wrote a great book.
The Masked Man. TheMaskedMan.com. Shout out. Masked Man podcast.
He has a fantastic book that he wrote called The Squared Circle, which talks a lot about what Andrew just referenced of the early days of television. Specifically, he has a whole chapter on like the history of the early days of television and how wrestling kind of played a part in that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting even for non-wrestling fans.
It was like Howdy Doody and wrestling. Was all that was on TV and the news. That was all. That was
and then
it.
Captain Kangaroo came around.
Captain Kangaroo and J. Fred Muggs.
This has become me somebody who knows nothing about it.
Well,
so
there
I'm
are
like just
other
asking
things.
questions. But I'm curious because it was always like scripted from the beginning, right?
Yeah, it was born out of the traveling carnival circuit of you're looking for marks in the crowd to fool with strongman competitions and stuff like that.
Because
And the theatrics came later.
yes. Because, like, when you call it, like, a sport, for instance, and, like, I understand, like...
It's an athletic endeavor.
In that study, it's grouped in with all sports. And, like...
It
for instance,
probably shouldn't.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
I agree.
Like, golf, we could have a debate about, like, is golf a sport or is it a skill? Or, like, auto racing, is it a sport or is it a skill? But there's nothing else on that list where it's like... No, that's like it's just pure entertainment. Like it's just pure entertainment.
Now
right?
the like buzz term, like ESPN calls it combat sports. So they group it in with boxing and MMA.
But that seems weird to me
because those are still
real.
Yeah, those aren't.
Whatever I think about them, they're not.
Those aren't predetermined.
outcomes. Some boxing.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
If you're looking just at WWE, it's pure entertainment.
So the guys that I worked with at WWE, and I think most of the fans, there's much more of an overlap with comic books than there is with MMA for the most. I mean, there is an overlap with MMA, but it's really more the genre of like outlandish superheroes than it is Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, it's much more in the fantasy comic book world, I would say now.
Yeah. So how'd you guys? So you guys met through Twitter?
Yeah. Now, like
you say that with such disdain.
No, I've met plenty of people through Twitter.
No, I mean it's one of my most successful sort of like meet somebody on Twitter and
Fake
now
life
he's like
to real
an
life
actual life friend.
Yeah.
Zach's my guy. Like if Jamie goes away for the weekend for like a bachelorette party or something, Zach's like my first text to be like, do you want to eat this terribly fattening thing that I've been wanting to eat for, that I have like marked on my
And I will
on
say
my
yes unless I'm busy.
Yeah, Zach is like
Out of town.
Zach is like Kramer on Seinfeld. You can basically ask him to do.
You want to go up to Yankee Stadium and take flyers over George's car?
You would have said yes to just about anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he's that kind of person.
Yeah.
In
Are
my
you
life.
that person for a lot of different people, or are you?
I think that I kind of have the reputation of, to toot my own horn a little bit, of being like a very loyal friend and sometimes loyal to a fault, I think. And I've tried to reevaluate that part of my life.
Interesting.
Over the last year or two, to maybe try and not be as loyal to people who perhaps don't deserve it.
Sure.
There you go.
So, in other words, like, you don't say no a lot. You're kind of up for whatever, and then you're like...
If I'm available and someone asks me to do something, it goes in the calendar and it usually does not come out.
Yeah.
And if someone else asks me to do something in that slot, I'm busy. I'm booked.
I believe you and Alex had a bit of a snafu.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Oh, that is true. You know about this?
Should we save it?
Alex and I.
Should we save that for the blow-off? No, let's do the blow-off early.
Okay, I have two
An
blow-off
early
stories.
blow-off.
Let's do an early blow-off.
Early blow-off.
Okay.
Tell your side of the story.
Alex and I had brunch plans. He was going to come by and see my apartment in Brooklyn.
Well, that's a big step in a relationship.
Absolutely. And
Were you down toothbrush tub?
What's that?
Were you down in the tub with a toothbrush?
I have a cleaning lady.
It's a Seinfeld reference. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know that.
Tub is love.
It's a woman in your room.
Yeah.
And I was sitting around, and Alex was about 10 minutes late, and I texted him. I was like, "Hey, are you nearby?" And he
goes, "What?"
He's like, "I forgot."
Oh no.
But in Alex's defense, he'll jump on the mic. He had just gotten back from Vegas, so he
I was in a fog when you asked me. I should have put it in my calendar. I normally do, especially for a person like yourself. I messed up. I'll take full responsibility.
you gotta do the follow-up.
But I will say in my defense, you didn't do confirmation to the confirmation.
Oh, wait a minute. This is fascinating.
Let's break this down. Is the confirmation to the confirmation required?
No, we're adults. Put it in your calendar.
Wait. So what? How much level of confirmation was there? It was
It was the morning after I got back from Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And then he texted me, 10 minutes after I was supposed to show up. I completely.
I know what Alex is saying.
Yeah.
Alex is saying there
If
should
you
have been a
reminded
text
me.
in the morning, let's say
or the day before.
a day before or an hour or two before the event.
I would agree
Hey,
with that.
are we still good?
I would agree with that if there is any kind of muddiness to the plans. Did we not lock down a time? Did we not lock down a location? Then you confirm, is this still happening, when and where?
Interesting.
If not,
Matt?
I have.
Checkmate.
Here's the thing. There's the soft confirm, which is like, see you tomorrow.
okay. I've
In
done
a
that.
text.
I will sometimes do that. Here's the thing. My life has become more complicated because most of my friends are married with kids, and so there's a lot of flaking and a lot of reasons why something would. And so because of that, I always do the double confirm.
And Alex has a beautiful daughter.
Right. He does. that he knows of. So, and I'm surprised. Yeah, because Alex must be.
Yeah. Davida Feldman.
He's pretty.
He is your child.
He's pretty organized, Alex, in general. He's got his whole list. You didn't make it onto the written list is the problem.
You ever see his to-do list?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
All right,
is a big
after the
man.
podcast.
It's like a
Does
yellow
it-
legal
Do you do
pad.
it on the weekend too, or only during the week?
I do it every day.
Every day you
I
have
even
the
put
big-
like bathroom, just everything.
Go to the bathroom?
Go to
Is
the
on your-
bathroom. Yeah.
You do have the first thing on Alex's to-do list is always coffee and New York Times.
I start every morning.
I check out the magazine.
I get the real estate. Wait, so
She goes
so what
straight
happened?
for arts
so did
and
he fully
leisure?
blow you off,
I
or did he
check
show
out
up
the
late?
magazine.
I don't remember what happened. We did not reschedule. We ought to reschedule, Alex. We'll do that after the recording, I think. But yeah, that's kind of the end of the story.
Okay, and then there was a second story with Alex, or what was it?
I'll tell another blow
No,
story
for the
later.
blow,
All right,
for
we'll
the
save
actual blow off, he's got one. See, he comes prepared.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's a listener, so he knows.
Also, you're like very, you're very into New York. right?
That's true.
That you are.
I grew up here. I have
Yeah.
a lot of affinity for the city.
You're the guy. If I'm like, hey, let's go get this burger Saturday afternoon, you're like, oh great, I'll be at the MoMA. I'll just come down. Like you're that guy.
That's actually very. Yeah, my Ryan, who I mentioned before, will often refer to things that I like to do as Zick picks, and he'll make fun of me like. Hey, I'm Zick. I'm headed off to the cinema to see the latest indie romantic comedy, and then a day at the Frick collection.
I will say this: Zach has very full days.
Yeah.
And there's not, I on a free Saturday left to my own accord will like. There won't be much.
Which does bother me sometimes that I do have such... Because it's very rare that I will wake up and just, like, sleep in on a Saturday and, like, or a Sunday and, like, put on Meet the Press and just, like, lounge around or whatever, right? Because I'm usually like, oh, it's Sunday. I got to take advantage of that matinee pricing, you know?
Yeah. Well, life's too short. You enjoy it.
No, but I envy it because he's like, everybody. I've been in New York 17 years, and I've barely seen a lot of things that you're supposed to go do.
I've never been to the top of the Empire State Building.
Ooh,
you want to do it?
I don't love heights, but
I have. It's been a long time.
Yeah, they have the new Top of the Rock, which was after our time. Though you're in that building now. I don't know if you've ever done it.
Yeah.
Top of the Rock is a client of ours at my job. Yeah.
Which we'll get into in your. Well, we should do now because in your day I want to talk about your traveling.
Okay.
What do you do?
This is actually fun.
What do you
think I do?
You're a very talented writer, as from your days at WWE.com, but I know you're in digital marketing startup-y...
Transponder. Yeah.
I
trail off.
Before I was working at WWE, I was working in sort of the digital agency world.
See, I got a word right.
And when I was working at WWE, I was in digital production. I was not on the official TV writing staff like you were.
You're on the .com.
And when I left WWE, I just sort of went back into the digital agency world. So in the business, you'd refer to it as like the client side to the agency side, right?
Yeah.
So I went from WWE back into the agency world. So this is my second agency now since I've left WWE. And I'm kind of like... I'm like an account guy. Like in Mad Men terms, I'm kind of like the Pete Campbell of the operation, right? So I don't do a lot of writing anymore, which I miss. I do some sort of travel writing on the side just for myself, trying to figure out what I want to do with it.
But you're a creative guy, and it's a creative job. It's an account job, but it's also
my job. I would not call creative. I would say you have to have some creative thinking sometimes.
Yes,
but really, the only writing I do now is like really well crafted emails.
Oh, I love a well crafted email.
Those are good. Th're satisfying.
Here, let me ask you this:
a lot of bullets, a lot of bullet points.
Let me ask you this: in a well crafted business day to day inner office email, are you a best Zach guy or are you a thank you Zach guy?
I'm thanks Zach, or if I'm mad, just Zach.
Ooh, so that's the telltale. What are you on a salutation?
Thanks. I've never done best or just my name.
You know what I don't like about best? Best is a shortening of best regards.
Yeah, or best wishes.
Or best wishes, right. So when you say best what?
Yeah.
Best buy.
It's poor writing.
Yeah.
How about talk soon?
If we're going to talk soon, maybe.
Yeah.
I put talk soon on like something I want to reply to, like a job.
Oh, sure. If you're like pressing for a reply.
Yeah, I like a talk soon. It puts the idea out there.
Which was...
this is a great conversation.
Did you like Talk Soon better when it was hosted by Greg Kinnear or
I loved,
Joel McHale?
No, I liked the guy with the gray spot in his hair.
Henson.
Yeah.
Talk
Soon.
Jim Henson. No. Wait. I have other ones. Shoot, there's one that... there's other...
My emails are very informal. I don't have to write a lot of fancy business emails, and so I'm,
Well, how about like to, I don't know, the architect or the contractor?
Wife takes care of all those.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Well, she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Nobody says sincerely anymore, right? That's out. We don't do that anymore.
It feels old-fashioned, doesn't it? Unless you're writing...
A cover letter, maybe.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. How do you start these emails? Do you just get into the stuff? Do you put the person's name? Do you say, hey?
I like hay. A lot of my coworkers do not like hay. And
Yeah, there's like a current of people who don't like hay.
I kind of I am of the mind that I think a lot of people are too formal or trying to be too polite, and that's not how we talk. That's not colloquially. That's not.
Yeah.
So I like to write my emails in like the pattern of how I speak, right? Because I kind of feel like that's what clients tend to like about me, is sort of the interpersonal.
I know I'm going.
Some people take that too far, though, with like misspellings and lowercase and
That's
abbreviations.
different.
And,
Yeah.
Emojis. Let me ask. I know we're getting super deep into this, but you're the guy to do it with. Subjects. I've gotten into this. I used to hate it. Now I do it. Start the email in the subject. I do that, right? Alex loves it.
I do not like to do that for organizational purposes.
Like, hey, let's talk about ... and then you just start in the body of the email.
Then you're going to get a lot of emails that start with that, and I want an easier filtering process.
Okay, that's valid.
Yeah. And the other thing that is annoying for that is you might miss something that's in the subject. Like sometimes, like my wife and I got invited to an event recently, and she didn't know what time it started, and the reason was that the only place they put the time of the event was in the subject. And so she thought, I actually thought it at first. I had to go back and check the subject because I thought it was not in the body of the email, the time of the event. And so we both missed it the first time around.
Interesting. I've never. Yeah, I should probably stop doing that. But sometimes it's so easy.
Yeah.
Like you should watch this, and then link.
You do that with our little wrestling crew.
That's a very comfortable.
Yeah, that's.
Because
There's a lot of misspellings in there.
Because
Yeah,
we're
I believe
probably
it.
not going to get into your workday. You're in Brooklyn. Are you a lunch at your desk guy?
We have a great situation. My company gets catered lunch every day.
Wow.
With the exception.
What are you, The Daily Show?
With the exception of Fridays when we get catered breakfast.
Wow.
Plus on Tuesdays, in addition to the catered lunch, we'll have bagels and
Are
cream
you
cheese
going to
in the
miss
morning.
catered breakfast because
Wow.
you're here?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I went and I got myself an egg
All right,
sandwich.
you
It was
deserve
great.
it.
Now that's interesting because I would think you, as a food adventurer, do you appreciate the free food, or are you like a little sick of the catered?
I work at like a pretty like hip Williamsburg shop, so a lot of it is really good local food.
That's
from
good.
from local places.
Nice.
Yeah. So the owner of my company, either he has an ownership stake or his girlfriend does. Owns the restaurant Glassery in Greenpoint, which is like a very trendy, like Middle Eastern food. So we'll get Glassery pretty frequently,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Wow.
But
That's fun, man.
yeah, but I work in Williamsburg and I live in Prospect Heights. And for people that don't understand Brooklyn geography,
I'm sitting right across the
it was easier for me to commute into Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of
than
those.
it is for me to get to Williamsburg. It's
Yeah.
really hard.
Well, that's an incentive. I mean, my God, there's food every day.
You had to take a ferry.
I take a bus to like the G train.
Wow.
It's like the most Brooklyn commute that
Yeah.
you can have.
The bus is cool though because you can be on. You can see stuff,
Let me ask you a question.
and you can be on your phone.
I see a lot of Orthodox people walking across bridges. Do you, as a native New Yorker and like a food guy adventurer, do you have a lot of outer borough knowledge, like Queens, Bronx type weird spots?
The one that I always like to recommend to people is Roll and Roaster. Do you know about Roll and
Brooklyn,
Roaster?
the roast beef place.
Roll and Roaster is this place. It's like very, very old school Brooklyn.
They
It's-
tried opening one in the East Village. It died very quickly.
Right. It was around for a few years, like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah, but the Brooklyn one is like one of those staple New York spots.
It's way out in Sheepshead Bay. So you
Yeah.
can take the Q train all the way there, and then it's kind of a long walk from the Q. And from the outside, it looks like a really old-fashioned fast food restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go inside, it is a fast food restaurant, but it's like it's sort of stuck in time in like 1976.
Wow.
And what they're famous for are the hot roast beef sandwiches on a roll with like Cheese Whiz type cheese,
Wow.
like Philly cheese type
Like
cheese.
what Arby's should be.
Yeah.
And they have this famous sign there.
Yeah.
You can have cheese, CHEEZ, on anything you please, PLEEZ.
Nothing's finer than eating in your diner.
But it's a great place, and there's a similar place
They
in
have good
Brooklyn
fries.
called Brennan and Carr, which is also deep in Brooklyn, and it's a self-standing little shack that also serves these.
That
these
I've
hot
never been
beef.
to.
let's
Brendan
go.
and Carr.
I'm down to go. The problem is with a lot of these places, again, you can take the Q to that one place, but a lot of these places you need a car.
Yeah.
The other thing in Sheepshead Bay is the pizza. I forget. Spumoni Gardens.
Not as good as DeFara, where you went recently.
Yes, but I
know.
love Spumoni Gardens.
The only other place I'll mention is this place that I went to a lot when I was in high school called Cherry Valley.
I don't know this.
So Cherry Valley is kind of a famous place if you like grew up in Queens, and Great Neck is like basically Queens, right? And it's up in Whitestone, right by the bridge.
Yeah.
And we would. It was late at night and we were all at someone's house or something, you all pile into the car and you get on the Cross Island and you go up to Whitestone and you go to Cherry Valley, open 24 hours, and it would be busier at 3 a.m. than it would be at dinner time.
Yeah.
And it's a tiny little bodega/deli type of place, but they are famous for this long menu of just insane sandwiches.
Wow. I want to go there.
And they are.
Do they have the chopped cheese?
What is chopped cheese?
Don't worry about it.
That's a Harlem.
It's a very famous sandwich that's getting a lot of publicity now.
Okay.
From the Bronx and
Yeah, I would say that my two recommendations would be Roll and Roaster and Cherry Valley.
I gotta go
I've
to
never
Cherry
heard of either of
Valley.
those are deep cuts. I like it.
That's so cool. Well, thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
He's an Oracle.
Yes.
He's a New York Oracle. Well, let's get into your day.
I'm
and
the Warren Buffett of Great Neck.
What I'd like to do, so you solo travel.
Yeah.
Rattle off some trips.
Oh, God. Well, I'll just tell the narrative, kind of like
sure.
how I got started doing it. That's kind of the best way of doing it. How are we on time, by the way?
We're great.
We're great.
So, about 5 years ago, I was working at WWE, and I had never been out of the country, really. I had been to, like, Jamaica for a week once with my ex. And that was the only time I had been out of the country, and I sort of considered myself this very, like, cultured New Yorker. But in reality, I kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
That ex that I had gone to Jamaica with, after we broke up, she went and did this solo trip where she went to, I think, London, Paris, and Barcelona. And it was kind of very inspirational to me. And I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem so
Fuck
hard.
her.
Yeah. She's now married with a daughter. Much like Alex.
Much like Alex.
Yeah.
And I was working at WWE at the time, and I was always kind of very much a workaholic. That's kind of how I was brought up. That's how my dad is. So I never really took much vacation time at all, really. And then our mutual friend, who I'm still close with, Craig Tello, who was my boss at WWE, came over to me one day, and he said, Zach, you should take some vacation. And I said, noted, Chief. And it was right around Thanksgiving time, and I remember I was at Thanksgiving dinner where my family does it at like my cousin's apartment on the Upper West Side. This like very like Woody Allen-esque apartment, and I was sitting there surrounded by like 25 screaming Jews, and feeling in kind of this cocoon. And feeling very restless, like, get me the fuck out of here, right?
Yeah.
And I went back to work on that Monday after Thanksgiving, and I did no work all day. I just looked at kayak.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I booked a flight into Berlin and 2.5 weeks later out of Barcelona. And I said, I'll figure out the rest later.
Yeah.
So cool. I could never do it.
And that trip, so I ended up doing that trip. You can't really take time off at WWE leading up to WrestleMania time, the Super Bowl
It's
of
like
WWE.
tax season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For an accountant.
Right.
And so I booked this, and WrestleMania usually happens in early April, so I booked this trip for like late April into May.
Yeah.
And then I went on this trip, and that trip ended up being 5 cities, and that was Berlin, Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, and Barcelona for 2.5 weeks. And I came back and I realized I had sort of stumbled into, first of all, it changed my life. I know that's a very big cliche, but it really truly did, a trip like that. I was like, I don't know, something like 27 at the time or something like that. And I realized I had sort of stumbled into the best time of year to travel by virtue of trying to avoid WrestleMania because it...
as most famous travelers have said.
Magellan said that, I think.
Sure, yeah.
DeSoto.
And... it's the best time of year to travel because the weather is pretty great, but it's not peak season yet, so it's not super crowded or expensive.
People are in school or work. They don't have vacation then. So
right, exactly. Because it's also after spring break time, too, so it's kind of this funny in between. And I did this trip, and I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this every year now.
Yeah.
So then for the next 5 years, I just came back from my 5th or 6th one. I do these kind of long 2-ish week trips to Europe, right kind of in that sort of time period. And in addition to that, I've also done now a couple of trips in between.
Well, now you're like expert at like finding deals, and like you see a good deal, you just get it.
Yeah, I started reading like a lot of travel blogs, credit card point websites.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, really, really nerdy things like that.
Yeah.
What's a good, this is total interruption. Is there a good thing, let's say you're like, I have this date to this date free, and I want to know where they're good, like, I just want to go somewhere.
Google Flights.
Google Flights?
Yeah.
So you put in your dates and like...
Here's the only problem with
Google
Flights.
Flights, it's its own thing, or you Google the word flights?
Google.com/flights.
Got it.
Okay.
And the only problem with Google Flights is, and I ran into this problem just very recently, it will not let you do out of one airport and then back home into another. So you can't say, I want to fly from JFK and give me the best price, even if it includes coming into Newark.
Yeah.
Right, if there's a better price.
It won't show you that.
Yeah.
So that's the only, I would say, downfall of Google Flights. So Eric Schmidt, if you're listening.
All right, work it out.
Yeah.
What? So where else have you been on these trips?
Okay, I'll go through all of them really quickly, I guess. The second one I did was Scandinavia and the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
So that was Copenhagen, Stockholm, Tallinn, Estonia, Helsinki, Oslo, a couple days down the fjords in Norway, and Bergen.
Yeah.
The next trip was, the third trip I did was my favorite, and that was Munich, a day to see castles in the Bavarian Alps, Salzburg, Vienna, Bratislava, and Budapest.
Wow.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily tell someone else, like, go do that
Go
trip.
to Bratislava.
Because I've found that different people like different things.
Yeah.
Right? That's obvious.
Yeah.
The next year I did Ireland and Scotland and England, and then I went back to Paris.
Wow.
And then this year I went to Italy for the first time.
And this is all solo. That's
solo.
the part that to me is...
There have been...
and you meet up with people, of course.
Oh, yeah, every now and then.
Yeah.
So those are those have been my big kind of 2-week trips. And then I also did, once I went back to Berlin, and I did a couple days in Dresden as a part of that. Dresden is a very cool place.
Yeah.
This year I went back to Amsterdam, and then I kind of paired it with Bruges, Ghent, and then I went back to Brussels. And I also went to a small Dutch town called Delft for a day.
Albania. It borders on... You ever see that Cheers?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, wow.
Go
Deep
through.
cut. Okay.
Wait, so what...
And then the last one I did was last September before I went to Italy. So the one right before I went to Italy, I went to Poland for the first time. My family's Polish.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I went to Krakow. I did do the day trip to Auschwitz to see that. And
All Europe.
It's mostly Europe so far. And I can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But and then I went from Krakow to Prague, and then to a very
loved
small.
Prague.
Yeah. I liked it. It was very overrun by tourism.
Sure, now, yeah.
And then I went to this small Czech town, like 3 hours south of Prague, called Český Krumlov.
Been there.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. It was great. You raft around the city in a tube.
I did not do the tube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was there over the summer, so yeah.
Wow.
But it was still great, and then I went from Český Krumlov. I went back to Vienna because I have a good friend who lives in Vienna.
I feel like Spain is next for you. That's like you haven't done that yet.
been-
I've only
Barcelona,
been to Barcelona, which is not even real Spain, as they say. It's Catalan, right? But
Well, I guess just because of time, we could talk. What's your strategy on these trips in terms of filling out your days? Because you can't be like, what's a typical day when you're in, because every country's different. But like, I would say, what's your strategy for waking up? Is it activities all day?
I like to wake up early and only have a couple days on these trips when I'm like sleeping in because I really want to maximize my time. The stuff that I'll use as
You're
sort of
setting an alarm on these trips.
sometimes, yeah, or I just know to wake up early, yeah. It really depends. I have, this is very nerdy, but
Please.
I'm a big devotee of the Rick Steves guidebooks.
Uh-huh.
But I have told people that while he is great for certain things, he is not so great for other things. I find he is really, really good at helping you plan the logistics.
Yeah.
Like how to get around in a city, how to like get from the airport, what are the cheapest ways to get to the actual city from the airport. He's really good at helping you prioritize your sightseeing and like what neighborhoods to go to. Other than that, he's like pretty bad. You know, he's not gonna.
I'm more of a Frommer's guy.
Yeah.
I like the Frommer's has a line of books called Easy Guides, which I think are very good.
Well, and you're taking pictures. You're very.
No, I'm not going to take a picture.
You're very famous for that.
On the phone? You don't have a camera with you.
I used to have a camera. I don't use one anymore.
Yeah.
I just use my phone now. But I'll use kind of the Rick Steves guidebooks to sort of fill out like my sightseeing priorities, and then I'll kind of use other websites and stuff and Googling around and asking friends and, you know, a whole slew of other methods.
Crowdsourcing.
To figure out, you know, what's the cool neighborhood, you know, like, you know, where to go eat.
I know you're talking to strangers.
I'll talk to strangers sometimes. Yeah, I've had some good stories of talking to strangers. Yeah,
because I guess if you're walking around solo, you're meeting strangers.
Yeah. I mean, Italy was hard because typically when I'll travel, when I go in to eat somewhere or drink, you know, I'll sit at the bar, sit at the counter. It's really easy to do that as a solo person. But Italy doesn't have that. There is no kind of sit at the counter situation. It's all like a family-run trattoria.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like get a table for one. You know what I mean? So Italy was a little harder in that regard. But yeah, if I'm sitting at a counter or a bar, usually talking to the bartender. People love when you're they don't like Americans, but they really like New Yorkers, and they especially love Brooklyn. So they'll be really into talking to you if you're a New Yorker. A lot of Trump questions, especially lately. They'll want to talk to you. I have a lot of good stories about like people I've met and stuff. One night I went to like kind of accidentally this like real hipster club in Stockholm, which was like a real trippy experience. I like ended up there because it had been recommended to me, not realizing it was
Rick
like a club.
Steves.
Yeah.
No, that place was recommended to me because I like was drinking at some bar and I was like, hey, where should I go tonight? And they were like, oh, you have to go to Underbrunn. And I was like, okay, I'll go there. And it was a whole crazy story, which is long, and I'll spare you now.
That's cool.
Want me to tell it? I can tell quickly.
Give us the short. Yeah.
So there is an area of Stockholm called
Syndrome.
Sodermalm.
I've been
when
to
you're in Stockholm, you have the Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. I've been
to
Stockholm. Yeah.
Okay, so Sodermalm is kind of like the Brooklyn of Stockholm.
I hate Sodermalms.
There's a main goat.
What? Wait, I don't know.
Soccer moms?
You're into Soder MILFs.
Yeah, Soder MILFs.
Yeah.
Steve Sodermalm, great movies.
Sodermalm, all the cars are minivans.
Yeah.
Go on.
Station wagons.
Yes.
There's the main strip in Sodermalm is called Goatgatan. And I had Googled this place that I'd been recommended, Underbron, and it was at the end of Goatgatan. So I have to walk down this drag and like suddenly like it gets really like bleak and like there's nothing around. I'm walking along the side of the highway, and then I realize that Underbron means under the bridge. Oh. And the club is literally, I thought it was just like a cool bar. It was underneath this like highway overpass. So I kind of climbed down. It's this very kind of like Euro
homeless.
Yeah, Euro. You know, the famous Euro homeless. And I was waiting in line to get in, and there were these two.
You know how Sweden has no safety nets, and they're famous for their lack of of
healthcare.
Yes.
And I was waiting in line, and there were these two like very hot girls in front of me, and they're talking to this like really big bouncer with this guy with like a big like beard and like big Swedish beard.
Shrimp.
Yeah.
And they're like talking in Swedish, and then these two girls kind of step off to the side and they don't go in. So it's my turn, and I kind of step up, and I was like, hi, yes, excuse me, what's the situation? Like, because I thought like, oh, they couldn't get in, maybe they're at capacity or something, right? And the bouncer just goes, it's a club. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. Can I come in? And he's like, ID card? And I like showed him my ID. He's like, okay, come on. I just like went right in, and it was this club, and I'm like suddenly in there, and there's like all this Euro dance music playing, and there's one room where it's just like static on the wall. It's like very Euro nightclub.
Yeah.
So I'm standing around, and then all of a sudden the music fades out, and Ben Folds' Annie Waits comes on.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they trolling me with Ben? Did they like see me? And they were like, oh, we got to put on the Ben Folds for this motherfucker.
That's so funny. He has a beard.
And then that comes off, more Euro dance music, and then a Ben Queller song comes on.
That's even more of a deep cut.
And I was like, where am I?
And they were playing Mallrats like in the room.
Anyway, that's kind of the end of the story.
That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
so weird. But that's when you're, I mean, like when you're by yourself, you end up weird places. It's kind of part of the fun of it.
Yeah, I've definitely had some strange and interesting experiences. But as you mentioned before, I've only done Europe because I feel like going anywhere else is, I think, a little harder to do alone. I would love to go to Japan, and I'm kind of considering going to Tokyo by myself.
I think you could.
What's that, Alex? I can't
Alex
remember.
wants to
Alex
come.
wants to go with you.
Yeah.
Alex is quite
Just
the traveler.
make sure you
too.
show up at the airport. Whoa, bird! No, you could
You
do
gotta double
Tokyo by
confirm.
yourself. You could absolutely do Tokyo by yourself.
Yeah, if I go, I mean, I would want to do like Japan for like, in addition to Tokyo, and then like go to Hong Kong or something.
Yeah.
I'm considering doing that. But
Let me ask you this: how are you on flights? Are you sleeping? You taking something? You reading? You podcasting?
Well, first of all, I love flying. And I know
Clearly.
that people don't like, but I like it. There's something very, even thematic to this podcast. Something very relaxing about disconnecting and not kind of being available for anyone to talk to, and I kind of really like that, and just kind of taking 6 hours for myself on a plane. But you know, as far as what I do on the plane, I'll usually load up movies or TV shows onto my iPad that like I've been meaning to get to because I don't trust what they've got on the airline
neither do I.
entertainment. So, and I'll just watch some of that, and then if it's an overnight flight, I'll usually take a couple of like ibuprofen PM and then go to sleep.
Yeah, knock it out.
All right.
We got to get to. So you have another blow off story.
Yeah.
Is there another time that Alex blew you off?
No, but there's still time.
Okay. Give us the blow off.
This is one I don't feel great about this, and I actually have not completed the blow off yet.
All right.
So it's like an
We're
upcoming
mid-blow
blow
off,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Preemptive blow off.
as I mentioned before, I will sort of. This is not exactly related to this, but I have tried to not be as loyal to people who maybe don't deserve it. But this is a story more about my parents and my family, so it's
Okay.
not as
Good.
accurate.
Sure.
But my parents can be like pretty bad communicators sometimes. And there was so this Sunday, there is like it's kind of like a family reunion from how it was described to me, but it's not exactly. It's like one of our more distant relatives is hosting people at his home. Mm-hmm. And I did not hear about this until very late. And I sort of and I don't have anything planned for that day, but I sort of feel a little burned by I don't know if burned is the right word, but I wasn't happy about how I was informed about it, and how it seemed like people knew the information but like chose not to communicate it, thinking that like, oh, he'll just be coming anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So I've decided that I'm probably not going to go to this thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the way it was handled.
Right.
That's kind of my blow-off story.
So what you could do is make an alternate plan,
which I'm trying to do.
and then say, I can't come because I have this, which is technically true, even though you made the plan after.
Right, yeah. I even told someone, like, I would come, but I already have plans that weekend. It's just to kind of make the point, like, you should have told me earlier.
Just
You
tell
know?
your family I'm eating knishes with my friend Alex and his daughter.
Potato or kasha?
Akasha Kanish?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think those exist.
Mine, I would think the two that I think of are potato or...
I love a potato.
Is there a cheese Kanish?
No, it's a cheese blintz.
Cheese blintz.
Or a cheese Danish. Oh,
Oh,
now we're
I
talking.
love a cheese Danish.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, now.
This has been so fun. It's been really great. I've
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
it.
me,
Is there
guys.
anything you want to promote or
Shabbos.
mention? You want to plug
I
your...
just hit 2,000 on Twitter. It's a big milestone for
Hey.
me. Zach Linder.
Cement of them.
That's just your name?
ZACHLINDER.
Okay,
Always
great.
Zach with an H.
Nice.
And I would shout out either you, if you're comfortable, either your Instagram or your Snapchat, because that's where all your travel pictures It's really amazing.
I've
You really
departed-
document these trips.
I try to, yeah, because I want to create the memories.
Yeah,
Andrew.
of course.
I've departed Snapchat, but yeah, Instagram is the same as my Twitter.
At Zach Linder.
Yeah,
I would check that out if I were you. I mean, really just like cool monument pictures all throughout Italy and food and the whole thing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I try and
You
post
do
a
a good
lot
job.
of travel stuff. Yeah, thanks. And hey, if you need an app or website made, fuzzproductions.com.
All
There you
right.
go. All right.
There you go.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you so
It's been
much.
super
Thanks for
fun.
having me, guys.
This was wonderful.
Alex, how'd we do? Did it live up to all your expectations?
And some.
Wow.
All right, I'll see you at brunch.
We really utilized the third mic on this podcast.
We did.
Or the fourth mic.
one,
Baba Booey, Mike.
We're gonna go climb the Empire State Building now.
Well, thanks, Zach. And
Stay
stay busy,
busy,
everyone.
Cause I'm busy. Whenever I get with her, say I'm busy. And I'm gonna hit you later cause I'm busy. Busy with her.